So we are $30,000 in debt. How are we going to pull ourselves out of this? First, let's take a look at how big is our venue. So I went over here to the room cap. I put in 1,500 because that's like a good size small venue, maybe 1,500 to 2,000, right? So now we can take a look at our ticket prices. Okay, if you are at a small venue, almost every venue out there, there's different prices for advanced tickets, which is why I put that, and then DOS for day of sale, or day of show, sorry. And so let's say it's a big show, we can charge, let's say $30 per ticket. Let's say day of we can charge 35. So that's pretty good. Now we decided not to do any seats or tables, so we don't have any of that. But let's say we do have a loft area that we can do, like a VIP area that is like a meet and greet with the band. Let me just tell you right away that this is something that it'll blow your mind. This will sell out. It will not. You're not going to sell them day of unless you just don't advertise it or something. But I mean, people love the opportunity to get to meet the band, to feel special. If it has like its own little bar, people love that. So you can charge. I'm going to put 120 because you can charge that much. Now, I know, I know from experience, I've seen people buy $300 tickets just to go meet the band. Like, honestly, so it will happen. So let's say there's 50 available. Let's say we're going to sell all 50 of those. That's just something. Now, look, that's a profit of $6,000 we made on 50 people. So if you can, I mean, if you didn't do like a VIP thing, you just lost like a ton of money on that. Let's see if like how much would we make. So yeah, you took it, you times it by 4, guys. That's how crazy, how much of a jump you get by just upping the price of something by a lot and giving them, a deal like that. So let's say we're going to sell in advance. Let's say we have a pretty good area. Let's say we sold, 200 there. Now, right now we got 250 tickets. That means, we got 1,250 left that we can sell for general admission. So let's say we had a pretty good turnout. We had like 400 people show up, right? So, I mean, we got what? We sold 650 tickets. I mean, that's a lot, really, when you think about it. And we're still in the hole, like almost $5,000. We're still in debt. So, I mean, I hope you can see the point of ticket sales doesn't always cut it, Now, this isn't a great turnout. So let's say if we did have a really good turnout, let's say we sold 600 in advance. We still sold those. Look, we're $7,000 ahead. That's pretty good. So yeah, that's not bad. But that's in a scenario that like the venue, we booked it and we're making all the profit off of tickets. Let's say the band gets 20% of those tickets. Oh, gosh darn it, man. Look, the band's making a killing, but we're still in debt, almost $300. Gosh, man, that sucks. So here's the thing. Let's say the band does get 20%, right? Remember when we talked about the fact that the bar is what the business is about. So let's say we like to do, this is an average of per head, we call it, where we see, let's say, I mean, you generally want, $15 to $16 a head, but that doesn't always happen. So let's say, best case scenario, let's say that we do get $16 a head, and we're down to there. Okay, hey, look at that. So we made almost $17,000 on the bar. Now, the only thing about this, though, is that you're not factoring in the cost per drink. So let's say each person spent $16,000, but we really only made a profit of about $10 a person because those drinks do cost money. Okay, so we made a little over $10,000. Okay, we've made $10,000. That's pretty good, right? So as you can see, I mean, your ticket sales can be, I mean, we still sold over 1,000 tickets. That's pretty good, right? But let's say, okay, we haven't sold as many as we wish we could, right? So this is when we throw in comps, right? You got a bunch of buddies, people that work there that have friends that want to go see the show, but they don't, they're not going to pay for tickets. So what I would say is they're going to spend $10 a head, right? And let's say we gave away 50 tickets. Let's say the thing about whenever you give out comps, guys, only about half of them are going to show up because they're free, so it really doesn't matter. if they missed the show because they didn't spend any money. So let's say 25 of them came. All right, another $250. I mean, yeah, you may think it's only $250, but let's see, as far as the bartenders go, that paid for our bartenders, right? I mean, so that's pretty good. That's not a bad thing. So this is, a big part of it. Let's say, now we're going into just kind of, it gets more crazy as we go. So let's say a promoter brought in the band, right? So let's say they're renting the venue. Let's say we charge them about $3,000 to rent this venue. We also make them pay for security. And we also make them pay for our daytime sound guy. So I'm going to put that there. That's their cost that they have to pay us before they use our venue. So I'm going to take away, where is it? I'm going to take away our security cost because we're not paying security. I'm going to take away our main sound guy. And so that is, that's covering quite a lot. If they're bringing in the band, let's say, hey, you guys have to pay for the hotel. We're not paying for that. You guys have to pay for the water. And you have to pay for the van. And you have to pay for catering, right? So now here's the only problem is that that's not factoring into their cost. So it's going to look like they're making more than what they really are. But, and also, I mean, they would be paying the band, so we're not even paying the band. So, so that I know this gets kind of jumbled, but let's say they're paying the bands, they're paying for the back line, and we're paying, they're paying for the radio and the newspaper and all that stuff, right? But we still have some of our expenses. So look, holy cow, guys, look how good we're doing. Except we didn't factor in how much they're making. So let's say they're getting 50% of the ticket sales. Okay. So look, they're getting $14,000 or $15,000 about. We're making a pretty good profit because we just knocked out a ton of our cost. We're barely spending money on a lot of this stuff because they're paying for a lot of it. And this like $4,000 directly went into our revenue there. So that's pretty good, But let's say a lot of times though, they will also say, hey, we get 50% of the tickets, or let's say they say we want 75% of the tickets. Okay. The band's only going to get 10, but we want 30% of your bar, right? Okay. So now we're getting into a point where we're kind of losing some money. So, I mean, really the best case scenario is for the venue to book the band because you get all the profit. But that's the best case scenario if you sell out, right? So I hope this is, obviously the band's making more because they're paying them $2,000. I know it's kind of confusing, but when I made this, the main focus was that I'm looking at what me as the person at the venue, what we're making. So there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Now, a split point, I'm going to briefly go over this, but I don't have a good way to do this formula. The split point is, here's like our show expenses, right? So let's say the promoter, all they're doing is they're paying for the venue, right? But they can't pay for, let's say they're bringing the band, but like we decided, hey, you're not going to have to pay us all that rental stuff. So we'll have the security for you. We'll have the sound guy. We'll do the hotel rooms. We'll do all this stuff, right? And so we're spending a lot of money. But what the split point is that the split point is basically saying, hey, you aren't going to make a profit until this, like around $6,000, until this is paid for. So they're not going to make anything until we make that back. So that's one way to do it. I know this is cramming a ton of information, guys, and if you haven't been around it, it might be really confusing to you. I've been around this a lot, so I can go over it pretty quickly because it makes sense to me. If you're confused by anything, just comment below. Let me know what you think. And if you have any additional questions that you would like me to cover, feel free to put them down below or message me. I would love to hear any feedback that I can get from you guys because I think this is some great stuff, and unfortunately there's not a lot of it out there to help people who want to get into this industry. Thank you so much, and God bless. Please subscribe.